Season 17 is just around the corner, officially launching next week on August 14th, and as of now, the insider builds have reached the hardening stage. For those of you without a filthy mind, unlike myself, a hardening build basically means it's the final version of the update, mostly finished with just a few rough edges. The full content is there, nothing further to be added, but you might spot the occasional typo or balance tweak still to come. So keep it in mind, what you're seeing on Insiders right now and in this video is essentially what we're getting at launch. That's why I figured now's the perfect time to dive in and share my thoughts. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's start with some positivity, because there are genuinely some great little additions to this season. First off, the smuggler hideouts are genuinely fantastic. Hats off to the design team. There's a lot to explore, and the NPCs actually have some very interesting lore to share. I won't spoil that just yet, but the fact that they're all voice acted, that was a big surprise. They actually talk to you, and you're not just reading a script. Well, that is until skeletons spawn and ruin the moment.
Rules are chaos, but at least they're honest. The sea's wild.
We've learned a lesson with this rare. Shipwrecks now have bubbles, which means no more chomping on what I like to call the banana respirator while hunting for loot. It's a small change, but a very welcome one. The old Reaper rowboats are back, which is a huge win as well, although lacking their green explosion, but heck, they're back. And one thing we can never complain about, the musical score is absolutely stunning. The art and sound design teams have never let this game down, ever. And then the kegs. Wow. I mean, sure, it's just a keg, but look at this. Season 17 introduces a new structure that's meant to reshape how content is delivered throughout a season's 3-month cycle. The idea is to break things up. Month 1 expands on the sandbox, Month 2 brings in a limited time live call to action event, and Month 3 focuses on evolving or expanding a piece of the game world to carry forward into the future. On paper, this sounds like a great idea. I was genuinely excited when I first heard about it, but now that I've seen what's actually in this update, I've got to ask, Rare, what are you doing? Now, before you all jump down my throat, let me start by saying this. The smugglers, the so-called new faction introduced in Season 17, aren't really a faction at all. There's no faction shop, no emissary flag, no reputation to be earned, and frankly, no long-term reason to engage with them beyond earning some commendations and grabbing a lot of gold. Now, we haven't seen the full list of commendations just yet, but based on what's available, it's looking like smugglers are a one-and-done affair. They exist purely for this update, and once the dust settles, they'll likely fade into obscurity. Just another temporary feature dressed up to look more meaningful than it actually is. It's a bit disappointing, especially when the marketing hints at a new faction as if it's some major evolution of the game. In reality, it feels more like a time-limited event wrapped up in a permanent-sounding label. If Rare is hoping this becomes a template for future seasons, they might need to rethink what players actually want from lasting content. I can see what Rare is trying to do here, and honestly, I like the direction they're headed. The problem isn't the idea, it's the execution, specifically the content. So let's break down what's actually on offer in the first month of Season 17. We get one quest. Just one. To be fair, there was originally 2, but 1 got cut. Why? Because it was, well, boring. So that leaves us with one single quest to carry the season's opening month. Surely with only one quest, it must have something special, right? Something new, innovative. Well, not exactly. This lone quest starts with either sailing or diving to a smuggler hideout. Once there, you carefully avoid some very obvious floor traps, chat with the smuggler NPC, pick up some cargo, load it onto your ship, and then sail to another island to drop it off. And that's it. That's the entire quest loop. Maybe you run into a skeleton ship on the way, but aside from that, it's literally a cargo run. Oh, and did I mention the route you're taking is shown on the map for everyone to see? So good luck surviving long enough to complete it, especially with one of these on board. Okay, so maybe the loot itself makes up for it. Kind of. not really. I mean, yes, there's a new keg, but beyond that, you've got pitchers that are literally just trinkets that have been reformed into loot, several different variations to the one that's just posted here, some rum bottles of varying different colors, showcasing just the gold ones here, with the exact same fragile mechanics as standard cargo. Nothing has changed at all here. One cannonball and they're gone. There's a rebranded Skull of Sirensong, which is like the Skull of Sirensong, except it doesn't work like the Skull of Sirensong. A couple of tools like a Horn of Far Winds and the Obsidian Ashen Winds skull, which is cool, but again, not new. And a rebranded Merchant Manifest. Now it's yellow. The only true new addition in this update, at least in the first month, is this one keg. That's it. One item. One item. So to sum up, let's be honest, an underwhelming quest, mostly recycled loot, and a single new item to carry an entire month of gameplay. The intention behind Season 17 might be solid, but the content just isn't there. Now obviously there will be more as the season rolls out over the 3 months. In the second month we're getting new fortress activity, and it's shaping up to look a lot like a hybrid between a traditional fort and the Skull of Sirensong event. A quest pops up on your mast, and you're sent off to perform a high-stakes heist inside a rebranded fortress. From what I've seen in early builds, it actually looks kind of fun. Think all hands on deck Fort of the Damned vibes. Chaotic, intense, and a real team effort. Now this sounds cool, right? And it is, but there's one catch. It only lasts 1 month. After that, it's gone. But I won't comment too much on this, as it's still very early in development, and feedback will likely change it in the future. And in the final month, fortresses become Reaper fortresses. Again, aside from the very cool looking cloud, the forts seem to be in very early development. I didn't take any footage of these as I wouldn't want to put Rare to shame with unfinished work and have you guys think that's actually what's coming. But the versions I saw just recently in the last patch since making this video, not a lot has changed. Visually, at least. But just like the month 2 update, I'll not talk too much on this. I'll wait to cover this shortly before its release. I just want to cover what's coming in the first month. And frankly, one quest, recycled loot, and a single new keg just doesn't cut it for a season opener. I should point out that all of this new loot can merely be found washed up on shores or even inside the holds of skeleton ships. You can also find bottle quests that will send you off onto different routes, but none of this is exactly new and doesn't refresh the sandbox as they explained. Now I know some of you will argue, but Falcore, it's not about the content itself, it's about the story you create with that content. And although I do completely agree with you, I think it's very important that Sea of Thieves keeps on adding new features and new tools to the game, because with that kind of mentality, what would be the point in ever updating the game again if we could just make our own stories with what we have? Just some food for thought. Anyway, they have, however, introduced a fantastic new season tab to the game, which is honestly a great addition. Think of it as a sort of season calendar. It is a significant step forward. However, everything this season has to offer is laid out quite plainly in that menu, and unfortunately, it doesn't exactly inspire confidence. Instead, it unintentionally highlights just how sparse the content is in this update. Keep in mind that some of the numbers and details are placeholders, so don't read too much into these just yet, but even so, the overall outlook isn't particularly promising. To wrap this all up, Season 17 does show that the team at Rare have the right idea. We can see the intent behind the design, creating more structured content, giving players reasons to return weekly, and experimenting with a new seasonal progression. That is a good direction. The season menu is a step forward, and the shift towards more curated activities like fort-based events and smuggling quests could lay the groundwork for something great. But, once again, just like several seasons before, what we're seeing is a solid concept being held back by weak execution. Recycled content isn't inherently a bad thing. Every single game does it, and reusing assets or ideas can be smart game design when they're reimagined or given a meaningful purpose. But in Season 17, much of the reused content doesn't feel like it's serving any purpose. It just feels like it's there. Trinkets, bottles, and rebranded tools are just tossed in without really adding to the experience. There's no twist, no mechanic that makes them feel fresh or worth chasing. And that really is the heart of it. Rare needs to innovate, not just repurpose. The Sea of Thieves community is hungry for a new gameplay loop, fresh mechanics, and adventures that feel alive and surprising. The foundation is already here and has been for 7 years. They just need to build on it in more creative ways. The rest of the season after month 1 could potentially be fun, but as a season starter, the first month is really not hitting the mark. Not by a long shot. And a message directly to the design team: I respect the vision. The sea you're sailing is a tough one, and you clearly care about this world and its players, but it's time to stop playing it safe. Take bigger risks, push the foundations, push the boundaries, and give us something that truly expands the game we love. You don't need more filler, you need more moments that make players say, wow, I've never seen that in Sea of Thieves before. You've got the map. Now let's chart a more daring course. Anyway, I've done my best to say this as respectfully as possible. As a content creator for the game, and as a Sea of Thieves partner, it's often a challenge to find the right words without seeming overly negative. I hope I've managed to strike the balance here. If you think I've done alright, feel free to drop a like, or hey, even a subscription, and I promise to keep you all updated on what's to come next. Until then folks, stay safe and happy sailing.
Hit it!